Hello. As you can see, the game I'm going to be talking about today is Takenoko. This game, I think it originally came out in 2011. I got it some years after that, I think somewhere around 2014 or 2015. I got it for my daughter. I think I gave it to her for Christmas or something like that. Um, and yesterday she was cleaning out her closet, and she said she was getting rid of this game. So she just gave it back to me. And I figured, well, I'm going to go ahead and do a video on it. So, uh, one other thing I want to mention, as I said, this version I think I got somewhere around 2014, something like that. I think there's a second edition of this that has a few rules differences than the version I have. So I'm going to be going over the version I have, which I think is first edition. So if you have second edition and notice I'm saying something that's a little bit different, I do know there's a couple of rules differences, but I think for the most part it's pretty close to the same. So let's get started with how to set up. Alright, first thing you'll do is place this pawn tile in the middle of the play area. You'll place your gardener figure and your panda figure on this tile. My panda figure has sadly lost an ear, but anyway, maybe I'll be able to replace that at some point. But anyway, place both those figures on the pawn tile. You'll take all your plot tiles, shuffle them up, and form a draw pile, and just place that somewhere nearby. You'll separate your improvement tiles by type, so you should have 3 types, each with 3 tiles. And we'll talk about more about what these are later, but you'll separate them into their 3 different piles and just place them again somewhere near where all the players can reach. You'll find this card, the Emperor card, and you'll just set that aside for now. You'll then find these decks of cards. The ones with this back are your plot cards, the ones with this back are your gardener cards, and the ones with this back are your panda cards. You'll shuffle those separately and just place those cards nearby where all players can draw from the stacks. You'll give each player a player board. It looks like this. Each player will get 2 action chips that look similar to this. Action chips are kind of similar. Their designs are a little bit different, but so you'll give each player 2 action chips that have the same design on them. So this would be for my other player over here. And I'm setting up for 3 players, so they will get these 2 action chips here. Each player will draw 1 card from each category, so 1 plot, 1 gardener, and 1 panda card. So you'll give those to each player. They'll keep them secret. That's their hand of cards. They'll keep them secret from the other players. You'll place your irrigation, pink, green, and yellow bamboo shoot pieces all somewhere nearby. I just have mine in these little chit holders or whatever, but you can place them in the middle of the play area or just somewhere nearby where all players can get them. The rules say your tallest player will be your first player. I'm just going to make this player my first player, and you'll take the weather die and give that to your first player. I will say that my version of the game came with these 2 panda kind of art tiles that have no game purpose, but they do come in my version, so I thought that I would point that out. But other than that, that is set up, and we're ready to move on to how to play. Alright, so how do we play? Well, starting with our first player, which we decided was this player at the beginning of this game, they have to do 2 things. They have to determine the weather conditions by rolling the die, and then depending on the result, certain effects will take effect. We're going to skip that for now because in the first round of the game, players do not roll the weather die, but starting with the second round, so after all the players have taken their first turn, starting with the second round, that is the first thing a player will do when they're taking their turn, so we'll talk about that then. But the next thing, after determining the weather condition, is performing actions. So a player gets to take 2 actions. This is kind of a reminder of what the actions are. That's why they have the 2 action chips. They'll take 2 actions on their turn, and then they'll pass the weather die to the player on their left, and that player will then take their turn. Again, in the first round, the weather die is not rolled. So let's talk about the 5 possible actions. Now, when a player takes an action, they can place this chip on the action they're going to take to show that they've taken that action, because you can't normally take the same action twice, so you have to take 2 different actions. So a player may do the plot action, and then they may do the move the panda action, and then their 2 actions are over, and they'll pass the die to the player on their left, and that player will take their turns. Now let's just look at the other things on this player board. These are the actions. These are a reminder of the effects of the weather die, which again I said we'll talk about here in a little bit. And then this is kind of reserve storage for some pieces that we'll talk about as we talk about the actions. So let's talk about the first action you can take, which is the plot action. I guess it's actually called the plots action, not the plot action. But so when you take the plot action, if a player decides to take the plot action, you'll draw the top 3 tiles, or the player will draw the top 3 tiles from the plot deck, look at them, choose one to keep. So we'll just say that the player's going to choose this pink one. The other 2 will go back to the bottom of your plot draw pile. The tile that was kept is then put into play by either placing it adjacent to the pawn tile, if possible, or if these tiles were already here, you can place it adjacent to 2 plot tiles that are already in play, so you could place it there. The player couldn't, however, though, if these 2 tiles were here, a player couldn't draw this tile and place it here, because then it's only adjacent to 1 plot tile that's already in play. So you either have to place it adjacent to the pawn tile or adjacent to 2 plot tiles that are already in play. If when a plot is played, it is irrigated, so any tile that is placed next to the pawn tile is considered to be irrigated. So when you play a plot, if it's irrigated, then it immediately grows a bamboo section of its color. So in this case, we would place one of these, the bamboo shoot pieces. The bottom pieces have this flat space so that it doesn't fall over. So you would place one pink bamboo. The bamboo shoot that grows is always the color of the tile, and only one bamboo shoot can grow at a time in a tile. So anyway, when you place a tile, if it is irrigated, so one way for it to be irrigated is to be placed next to the pawn tile. So if you place one and it's irrigated, then it immediately grows one bamboo shoot of its color. If you place a tile and it's not irrigated, so for instance this one, we'll talk more about irrigation here in a little bit, but this one here, because it's got no irrigation, you can place it, but it won't grow a yellow bamboo shoot because it is not irrigated. So that is the plots action. You draw 3 tiles from the plots tile stack, choose one, put it into play. If when you put it into play it's irrigated, you'll grow a section of bamboo shoot on it. A tile can be placed next to the pawn tile or next to 2 other tiles, adjacent to 2 other tiles that are already in play. Alright, the next possible action that we have here is an irrigation channel. So this is where we'll talk more about irrigation. When a player takes the irrigation channel action, they take one of these irrigation channels. They can either put it in their reserve and save that for a future turn, which they can place on the tiles at any point on their turn. So on a future turn they could place that and it doesn't cost them an action. Or when you take it, you can immediately place it. So when you're placing an irrigation channel, it always has to begin, irrigation always has to begin from the pond tile. So because we don't have any here, the only place this one could be placed is here. It always gets placed between two tiles. Now, these two tiles are already considered irrigated because they are next to the pond tile. But say on a future turn or another player's turn, they take the irrigation channel action and then they extend the irrigation. So irrigation channel always has to start from the pond tile, but then you can attach irrigation channels like so in the future. And now any tiles adjacent to that irrigation channel are considered irrigated. So this one was already irrigated because it was placed next to the pond, but now this yellow tile would be considered irrigated. Whenever a tile is a plot is irrigated for the first time, it immediately grows a section of bamboo of its color. So in this case, if this irrigation channel got placed here, this tile will now have been irrigated for the first time, so it will get a yellow bamboo shoot placed there. Alright, so that is the irrigation channel action. You will take an irrigation channel from the reserve. You can put it on your player board and just save it for a future turn, or you can immediately place it. Again, it has to be placed next to an already existing irrigation channel, so it extends that irrigation channel, or it can start from the pond tile. So, and it has to go in between two tiles. So, you'd have to have another tile placed here to place an irrigation channel here. And the pond tiles can't ever have irrigation channels next to them, but because they're not required. Any tile that's, or I keep saying tile, plot, any plot that is adjacent to the pond tile is automatically considered irrigated. Alright, let's look at the next possible action, which is the gardener. So if you take the gardener action, you can move the gardener from his current plot in a straight line any number of plots. So for instance, we'll just say he was here when somebody took the gardener action. They can move him in a straight line any number of plots, so they can move him all the way over here. Now he can't skip over blank spaces. So if there was, the tiles were arranged or plots were arranged in such a way that there was a blank space, maybe this one wasn't here. I'm just giving a quick example. If he was here, he couldn't move here and skip over this space. He would only be able to move here because that's the only tile in a straight line. But I've put this back how it was. So he can move any number of plots in a direction until you choose to stop him. And then he will grow a bamboo shoot on that plot, and any adjacent plots of the same color that are irrigated. So in this case, he would grow a green here, and then actually because of this improvement, which means fertilizer, whenever you grow something there, you grow two. So he would actually grow two bamboo shoots there. And then he will also grow a bamboo shoot on any adjacent tile of the same color or any adjacent plot of the same color that is irrigated. So here he would also grow one because it's next to the pond, so it's irrigated. So he would grow a bamboo shoot there. This one, even though it's adjacent and the same color, he would not grow bamboo shoot there because it's not currently irrigated. If you had an irrigation channel here and an irrigation channel here, then that tile would be, or that plot would be considered irrigated, and he would grow a bamboo shoot there. Anytime you grow a bamboo shoot where there's already one there, you just stack another one on top of it. Though the maximum height that a bamboo shoot can be is 4 sections, so you could not put a 5th section. If this one was already 4 and you move the gardener there, you couldn't grow that one anymore. Though you could still grow the adjacent ones as long as they were not already at 4 sections. So that's the gardener action. You can move the gardener in a straight line, any direction in a straight line, any number of plots in that direction. Again, you can't skip over blank spaces. And then where you end his movement, if it's a irrigated plot, he will grow a section of bamboo shoot there of that color, and any adjacent tiles of that same color that are also irrigated, he will grow a section of bamboo shoot there as well. All right, and that's the gardener action. All right, let's look at the next possible action is the panda action. So if you take the panda action, you will move the panda similar to the way you move the gardener. You can move any number of plots in a straight line. So if he was here, he would only be able to move here or here or here or here. But if he was up here, he could move all the way down here, or he could move all the way down here, or he could just move here, or he could just move here. So you go in a straight line, any number of plots you want to, and then where the panda ends its movement, it can then eat one. It will then eat one section of bamboo. However, in this case, not, because if you see this improvement here, it means that the panda cannot eat a section of bamboo if it ends its movement there. So that would be the same in this tile or this tile. And of course, he couldn't eat a section of bamboo if he ends up in a tile that doesn't have one growing there. But if he was on this pond tile and you did the panda action, you can move it to here. Then you would get to eat one section of bamboo. The panda would eat one section of bamboo, and when he does, you then take that section of bamboo and just put it here on this section, kind of the panda stomach section of your player board, and you'll use that later to complete objectives, which we'll talk about here shortly. And when moving the panda, just like the gardener, you can't skip over blank spaces if there is one. You have to end your movement before you go off the board or whatever, so only in a straight line. And when you do the gardener action or the panda action, you do have to move them. You couldn't do the gardener action and just leave him where he is to have him grow another section of bamboo there, or do the panda action and just leave him there to eat another section of bamboo. They have to move at least one plot when you do their action. And I should say you can have the panda stop on an empty plot when you move the panda, even if there's no bamboo there, but he just won't eat a section of bamboo, so you won't get to add any section of bamboo to your player board. And the final possible action is the objectives action, in which case a player gets to draw an objective from one of the categories of their choice, either the plots, the gardener, or the panda, and add it to their hand. Though a player can never have more than 5 objective cards in their hand at one time. So now let's talk about objectives. So let's look at this plot objective. So what a player wants to do is complete these objectives. So to complete a plot objective, it will have the plots in a configuration, and you'll want to match that by having tiles in that configuration, or sorry, I keep saying tiles, plots in that configuration in play. So in this case, to complete this plot, you would have to have 3 green aligned somewhere on the board. So in this case, we do have 3 green. It doesn't have to be here. You can turn the card, in which case this one would be completed. We do have 3 green in a row like this. Now, the plots that you are using to complete a plot objective must be irrigated. So these are, these two are irrigated because they're next to the pond, and this one is irrigated because it's got an irrigation channel. So you would be able to complete this. When you complete that, you just turn it over in your player. You can complete it any number of objectives on your turn as long as you meet whatever criteria that objective card requires, and then you just say you've completed that one. And these are used for scoring. These are the number of points you'll score for that objective at the end of the game. Now, if this one wasn't irrigated here, even though you have the 3 greens in a row, as shown on this plot objective card, they're not all irrigated, so you wouldn't be able to complete this and turn it face up saying that you completed it. Once you've completed an objective and it's no longer in your hand, then that, of course, frees you up to have more objective cards in your hand. Remember, I said you can have a maximum of 5. So once you've got 5, you can't do the objective action because you're not going to be allowed to draw another objective card. So until you can complete one of those objectives and get it face up in front of you, allowing another slot in your hand to place an objective card, you wouldn't be able to take that action. Let's look at another type of objective. This is the gardener objective. In order to complete this gardener objective, you would have to have a green plot that would contain a bamboo shoot of 4 sections, and that green plot could not have any improvements on it. So some of the plot tiles have built-on improvements. They're just printed on the tile. So you would not be able to, even if you had this plot with a 4-section bamboo shoot, you wouldn't be able to complete this because it does have an improvement on it. And this one, you can see it has the X through the improvement. So it has to be on a green plot tile with no improvements on it. So if it was here, if you had this 4-section bamboo shoot on that one, then on your turn you could complete this objective because you could say, there's a 4-section bamboo shoot on a plot with no improvements on it. You could complete that objective on your turn and just turn that tile face up. Now that doesn't remove the bamboo that's there. That stays there. You just are able to complete that objective. And if later a panda eats a section of that bamboo or something, that doesn't make your completed objective invalid. Once you've completed an objective, even if something changes that makes it no longer valid, your objective is still considered completed. And there's other types. This one, you'll have to have a 4-section yellow bamboo shoot that is on a tile with a fertilizer improvement on it. So there's different types, and they show what you have to have. So this one would require to be built on a plot with a yellow plot with a fertilizer improvement on it in order to complete this objective. And there's other types. We won't go over them all now, but if you watch the sample play, we'll probably see some others. And then the one other type, the panda objective, shows you 2 sections or maybe more. This one just happens to be 2 sections of yellow bamboo that the panda has to eat. So you'll remember when I showed the panda action, you move the panda in a straight line any number of plots, and then if they end in a plot that has a bamboo shoot, they'll eat 1 section of that, and you'll place it on your player board. So to complete this, I would have to have the panda eat 2 sections of yellow and have them on my player board. And then once I had the 2 yellow sections of bamboo shoot, I could say I completed this plot. And then when you do complete a panda plot, you remove those sections of bamboo that, now of course this one I need yellow, not green, but if I have the 2 yellow, then you take them out of off your player board and put them back into the reserves. So those are pretty simple. They just show you what you have to have what you have to have the panda eat and have on your board in order to complete that objective. All right, let's talk a little bit more about the improvements. I mentioned this one, the fertilizer improvement. Whenever a section of bamboo grows in a tile that has a fertilizer improvement, instead of growing 1 section, you'll grow 2. This one we already talked about. If a plot has one of these improvements on it, then the panda cannot eat any bamboo growing in that plot. And those are called enclosures, and you can see that on the plots they have an enclosure depicted, so the panda is not able to get into the enclosure, and that's why they can't eat the bamboo there. Now, you'll notice I mentioned there are some plots that have a printed improvement on it, but there are some improvements that you can obtain through the weather die, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, in which case you'll be able to take one of these improvements and place it on any tile you wish, and then it gives it that improvement's ability. So the one we haven't talked about yet is this one, which is the watershed. When a watershed improvement is on a tile, it is considered to be irrigated. So even if the watershed tile, if you place a watershed improvement on this plot, then that plot is considered to be irrigated, even though it's not attached with an irrigation channel. Now you can't then start, placing irrigation channels off of that one as if it was the pond tile. It doesn't work that way. It's just that one tile is considered irrigated, but your irrigation channels still have to come off of either the pond or another irrigation channel. But again, if a tile has a watershed, it is considered to be irrigated. All right, let's come back and talk about the weather die now. As I mentioned, during the first round of the game, the players will not roll the weather die, but starting with the second round of the game, when it's a player's turn, the first thing they'll do is roll the weather die to determine the weather, and then depending on what they roll, they'll have some ability from that die. And this section of your board is a reminder of that. So let's look at the first one, which is the sun. So it's a sunshiny day. If you look at this, what it depicts is that if you roll that, you get an extra action. Now, just like I mentioned, normally you get 2 actions and they have to be different. If you have the sun, you do get a 3rd action, but it has to be different than the other 2 actions you've taken. If you roll the rain, we'll look here, that lets you place 1 section of bamboo on any irrigated tile. So if it's one that's already got some growing on it, you can place another section on it, as long as it's doesn't make it more than 4 sections. Or if it's an irrigated plot with no section on it, you can start a new one growing there. So again, the rain lets you place a new section of bamboo on an irrigated plot. If you roll the wind, we look here. Now you'll remember I said that normally when you take your 2 actions, they have to be 2 different actions. If you roll the wind, it gives you the ability where you may take the same action twice. You don't have to, you can still do 2 different actions, but if you want to do the same action twice, you can if you rolled the wind. If you roll the storm, that scares the panda and it allows you to move the panda to any tile of your choice, and then he will eat a section of bamboo there. Though if it's an enclosure tile, he wouldn't be able to eat it. But you could move him to any other section or any section that you want to. If it's not an enclosure, he does then eat a section of the bamboo, and you get it to place it on your board. So he doesn't have to move in a straight line or anything like that. You can move him to any section, any plot that's in play, and if there's bamboo there and it's not in an enclosure plot, he does eat one section of that, and you get to put it on your board. If you roll the cloud, then that allows you to take one of these improvements. I mentioned that there are some of these improvement tiles available that are not printed on the tiles. So that allows you to choose one, and you can put it in your reserve on your board, and on any one of your turns you can place that on a plot that doesn't already have an improvement on it, or you can just place it immediately as soon as you get it. Place it on a plot of your choice. Again, as long as it doesn't already have a improvement on it. If you roll the cloud and there are no more improvement tiles to be taken, then you can choose one of the other possible weather effects and do that instead. And that is similar to the last possible weather effect, which is the question mark, which if you roll that, you can choose any of the other weather effects. So that's pretty much how the game plays. You'll have your hand of objectives that you're trying to fulfill, and you'll take actions that will hopefully get you to complete your objectives. You'll then turn that objective over, showing that it's completed. You have an objective that, or you have an action that allows you to obtain more objectives. And so players will continue to do that, trying to fulfill their objectives. Once a player has completed a certain number of objectives, and that's determined by the number of players. In a 3-player game, as soon as a player has completed their 8th objective, that will trigger the final round. In a 2-player game, it's the player that completes their 9th objective triggers the end of the game. And in a 4-player game, the player that completes their 7th objective triggers the end of the game. But in any case, in this example, we're doing 3 players, so it's the 8th objective. As soon as a player has completed their 8th objective, the player that triggers the end gets to take the Emperor card, which is worth an additional 2 points. They get to finish their turn if they hadn't yet finished their turn when they completed their 8th objective. Then each other player gets to take 1 additional turn. Once that's done, players will total the scores of their completed objectives. Any cards in their hand are not worth anything, only completed objectives. And the person who has the highest score will win. If there's a tie for highest score, then the player who has the most points from Panda objective cards will win. And if there's still a tie after that, then those players just share the victory. But that is it. That's how you play Takenoko. And if you want to know what Takenoko means, in the rulebook it says it means bamboo sprout. But let's move on to a couple of example rounds. Alright, I've got the table reset to how it should be right after the setup portion. Remember, we said this player would be our first player. Again, in the first round we don't determine the weather, so we won't roll the weather dice. So our first player will just take their 2 actions. I left the same objective cards that the players had. So for this player's first action, he's going to do plots. So he'll draw 3 plots, look at them. Well, they're all green, so I don't know if it really matters which one he keeps. He'll keep that one that I dropped. The other 2 go to the bottom of the stack, and then he has to place it next to the pawn tile or adjacent to 2 other tiles. There's only one next to the pawn tile. Now, because when we place that, it is immediately irrigated because it's next to the pond tile. It will immediately grow one section of bamboo. Because it's green, it grows a green section. And this player doesn't mind that because he does want to get 3 greens in a row. And he wants to get green on a plot that has no improvements. So that's why I didn't choose that one that had improvements. Alright, so he has another section. He has another action still. So we'll have him move the gardener. So the gardener can move in a straight line, so he'll move here, and then he'll immediately cause a section of bamboo to grow there, and on any adjacent of the same color that are irrigated, but there isn't any other. Alright, so we've grown our section of bamboo there, and that is this player's 2 actions. So now we would pass the weather die to the next player to the left, which will be this player. Again, it's the first round, so we won't roll the weather die. So this player will now take their 2 actions. So they'll look at their hand of cards, see what they need to get. Alright, so maybe this player, he's going to draw plots as well. So they draw 3, look at what they got. They know they want to get greens as well, so they're going to keep this green. They'll return these 2 pinks to the bottom. To the bottom. I don't know what I just did, but this one they will place adjacent to the pond, and that one will now grow a piece of green bamboo. All right, that is their first action. And he has this panda card where he needs a yellow, green, and pink bamboo to be eaten by the panda. So we'll just have him, he's going to do a panda action. And he'll move the panda here and eat this piece of green bamboo that was just grown. So he'll put that on his board. And that is his 2 actions. So now we move to the third player. Maybe she'll need to look at what her cards are. Oh, she wants pink. Oh yeah, because she wants pink plots. She wants pink bamboo. So she's definitely going to draw some tiles and hope for pink. Alright, so she drew these 3, and she did get 2 pinks. She'll keep this one. She'll return these 2 to the bottom. And then she's going to place this one. And she needs a configuration somewhat like this. So she's going to place this one adjacent to 2 other tiles. Now, this one isn't fertilized at this point. Well, fertilized. I was going to say this one isn't irrigated, but actually it has a watershed, so it is irrigated. So that will grow a piece of pink bamboo. And maybe for her second action, she's going to draw an objective card. And we'll have her draw a farmer objective card. Oh, this one. With this one, you need 4 green plots to each have a section, to each have a 3-section bamboo shoot on them. So that makes 4 cards in her hand. And remember, these cards are kept secret in your hand so the other players don't see them. But that is going to end her turn. So that's going to end the round because we only got 3 players. So the players can take their action chips off their board. And now we would go back to this player, and this time they will roll the weather die. Alright, so the player will roll the weather die. They got the rain, which lets them place a bamboo of their choice on a irrigated tile of their choice. So we know he's trying to get that 4 sections of green, so he'll place a section of green bamboo on this one that already has 2, so that makes 3 on there now, so he's close to completing that one. And so that was his weather effect. Now he still has his 2 actions. So for one of his actions, he's going to do the plots. So he will draw 3, look at them, choose one. Oh, he was hoping for a green. Unfortunately, he didn't get one. He'll take a yellow because he needs a yellow bamboo to be eaten by the panda. So he'll return these to the bottom. Now when you return these to the bottom, you can put them in whichever order you want. So I'm just going to do that. Now he's got to place this one. He's going to place it up here next to the pond, so it will be automatically irrigated and grow a yellow bamboo. And so for his second action, he will move the panda, and he'll just move the panda here and eat that yellow bamboo because he needs 2, so that will go in his, and that will be his 2 actions. He will now pass the die to the next player, which is this player over here, who will roll it. And they got the sun, which is an extra action, so they get to take 3 actions. Alright, so we'll say for their first action, they are going to do plots, so they'll draw 3 plots. Choose one to keep. I guess they'll keep this one. They'll put these back at the... I don't know, I'll keep messing that up. They'll put those back at the bottom. And... alright, so they'll place this one up here. Now it's not irrigated by irrigation channels, but it does have a watershed which makes it irrigated, so it will automatically grow a bamboo section. Alright, for his second action, he is going to move the panda because he needs a yellow, green, and pink bamboo shoot to be eaten by the panda. So he's going to move the panda in a straight line over here and eat this pink bamboo. So he'll add that to his bamboos, or his sections of bamboo there on his player board. So now he only needs a yellow one. And now remember, he does have the free action from the sun. So I think what he's going to do is draw an objective. He'll draw a plot objective, and boy, he keeps getting ones that require green. Right, that's going to end his turn, so pass the die on to this player, and now she'll do her actions. Oh, well, she's got to roll the die, first of all. Oh, she got the storm, which frightens the panda, so she can move the panda to any plot and eat the bamboo there. She needs yellow bamboo to be eaten, so she knows the first player seems to be wanting to grow bamboo there, so maybe just to thwart him, she'll move the panda there and eat a section of green bamboo. Alright, and now she'll take her turns. She needs more pink, so she is going to do a plots. She'll draw 3. Look, oh, she got a pink, which is good. Return these 2 to the bottom, and she will place this one right here. Now that's not irrigated, so she can't place a bamboo shoot on it. So for her second action, she wants to get some irrigation out there, because remember, you can't complete these objectives once you have the configuration unless all those plots are irrigated. So she's going to spend her section action to draw an irrigation channel, and you have to irrigate from the pond, so she's going to start heading out that way with her irrigation. Now, normally the first time a plot is irrigated, these are both irrigated from the channel, but they were already previously irrigated from the pond, so they won't grow any bamboo shoots. But that is going to be both her actions, so now she'll pass the die back to the first player. We'll do one more round. Alright, the first player will roll the die. They get the rain again, so that allows him to choose a irrigated plot and grow a bamboo on it. So he'll do that back on this section here. So now that one's got 3 again. Alright, well, he still wants to get this configuration, so he will draw plots. That's an action that players will do a lot. This player will look at them, he wants that green, so he's going to put these back to the bottom of the pile. He will place that green right here. Now, that does complete his configuration, but unfortunately this plot is not irrigated yet, so he can't complete that objective. So for his second action, he's going to take an irrigation channel and he will place it up here so he can start working toward getting irrigation up here. Once that one's irrigated, he'll be able to complete that plot, or that plot objective, which he probably won't be able to do until his next turn, and then he can draw one irrigation channel and place it here, which will then irrigate that plot. But he's used both his actions now, so he'll pass the dice to the player to his left, who will now roll it, see what they're... Oh, they got the extra action again. Alright, so they'll take their first action. Well, this player sees that their plot here will be completed. You can rotate the card, which that configuration is right there, but he needs that section irrigated as well. So for his first action, he will take an irrigation channel. Now remember, you don't have to place this immediately. You can place it in your reserve, and later at any point on any of your turns you can use that, and it doesn't cost an action, but he wants it immediately. So he is going to place this irrigation channel right here, which is now going to make this plot irrigated for the first time. So it will grow a section of bamboo. The first time a plot is ever irrigated, it grows a section of bamboo. And now he can complete this objective because all the plots are irrigated that make this up. So put these cards are in his hand, but he's going to say, alright, I've completed this objective. So he just flips it face up in his play area. And then he has this other one that if he gets another green up here and gets it irrigated, he'll have another one completed. So for his second action, he will do a plots. So he's going to draw 3. Again, you don't show these to the other players. You look at them. Well, green, that's what he wanted. So he'll return these 2 yellows to the bottom. Oh well. Alright, and he will place this one here. He's not immediately able to say he completed this because that section up there is not irrigated. So he can't complete this right now. Now remember, he does have his free action still that he got from rolling the sun. He would like to do irrigation again, but he can't because you can only do each action once. So now he's either got to do farmer, panda, or draw an objective. And I think he thinks he's going to draw an objective. He'll draw a farmer. Alright, so I'll just put that in his hand. He's got 4 cards now. Alright, and now he'll pass that die to his left, where it's this player's turn, and now she'll take her determine weather action. Alright, she got cloud. That allows her to draw one of these improvements. She can place it in her reserve, or she can immediately place it on a plot that does not have bamboo and does not already have an improvement on it. She does have this objective where she needs 4 bamboo sections shoot on a fertilized pink tile. So I think she's going to take, for the cloud, she's going to take this fertilizer improvement and she's going to place it on this pink tile right here. Well, she was thinking for her first action of moving the farmer up there to grow 2 sections of bamboo, but that is not fertilized yet, so I don't think she's going to move the farmer. She's going to get some irrigation. So she's going to draw an irrigation channel, and she will place it here, and she needs to get up that way. So that's still not fertilized or irrigated. But that's one action. She would also like to get this configuration. She needs another pink here to do that. So she's going to draw plots for her. Third action, she'll look at those. Oh, she didn't get a pink. Well, she'll take a yellow. She'll place that yellow here next to the pond, which means it's immediately irrigated. So it will grow a bamboo. And that is both of her actions. So now we would remove these and it would go back to the first player's turn. But I think I'm going to wrap it up there. You can see how you play the game. So you want to just keep doing things to try to complete your objectives on your turn. So far we've only had one player complete one objective. But as the game goes on, objectives start getting completed more quickly. So before you know it, a player will have 8 objectives completed, which within a 3-player game, that will trigger the end game. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up. I hadn't played this one in years, probably. I'd kind of forgotten my daughter even had this game, but I like it. I mean, I don't think it's a kid's game. I mean, it's more appealing to kids because of the cute little panda and the growing the bamboo and all that. I think that appeals to kids, but really there's strategy to the game, so I don't think it's necessarily a kid's game or strictly a kid's game. Adults would definitely have fun with this. I enjoy it. I think I'm going to keep it. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.